Welcome to another MedTech Gurus podcast, where we meet and discuss trending and educational topics that are important to today's medical technology sales and marketing professionals. Now, it doesn't matter if you're new to the space or if you're a seasoned medical sales and marketing professional. You all have come to the right place. You see, the medical technology world is ever-changing, and MedTech Gurus will help you stay up to date by interviewing experts and opinion leaders. Now, we call them gurus, and they will bring you information, techniques, and strategies that are sure to help you enhance your knowledge and help you bring value to your customers and your company. Now, I'm Sylvester Harris, and I'm pleased to introduce your host for MedTech Gurus, Mr. Tom Hickey.
Hey, what's going on out there, Gurus? This is Tom Hickey, your host of MedTech Gurus, and welcome to episode number 291. Gurus, imagine a future where your voice can flag early signs of Parkinson's or PTSD, where your smartwatch data helps build global research, and where you, not the system, own your health data. The future is already unfolding, and today's guest is helping to build it. Meet Mack Stachowiak, CTO of AxonDAO, a pioneer in blending AI wearable technology and decentralized science to revolutionize healthcare. From launching telemedicine platforms in the pre-smartphone era to building the Q-Ring wearable that seamlessly tracks thousands of biometrics, Mack is rethinking how data, diagnostics, and access intersect. In this episode, we explore how AI can speed diagnostics and how blockchain empowers patients, and why voice biomarkers might be the most non-invasive and powerful tool in early disease detection. If you're curious about the future of patient-owned data, smart algorithms, and tech that listens, literally, you won't want to miss this conversation. But before we get into the episode, let's thank our sponsor, Accelerant Consulting. Gurus, GPOs, RPCs, IDNs, you can make your head spin. Don't go it alone. We understand you need to get those sales going and boost that bottom line, and you need to do it now. Let the experts at Accelerant Consulting guide you through today's complex healthcare market. Check them out at accelerantconsulting.com. That's EXCELERANT consulting.com, and do it today. Okay, Gurus, here it comes, episode number 291. And remember, if you like what you hear, please subscribe, leave a review, and most importantly, tell a friend. Welcome, MedTech Gurus. Today, as I mentioned in the introduction, we have an incredible guest with us. Mack Stachowiak, CTO of AxonDAO, is joining us. Mack is at the forefront of leveraging AI, blockchain technologies to drive advancements in diagnostics, targeted medical treatments, and patient data democratization. Mack has a deep background in machine learning, software development, and mathematical modeling, enable him to create sophisticated yet user-friendly health tech solutions. His expertise bridges the gap between AI, blockchain, and decentralized data systems to build more transparent and patient-centric ecosystems. Hey, Mack, are you ready to be our guru today?
Yes, I'd love to be one.
Yeah, we're excited to have you. So tell us something fun or interesting about yourself or your family so we can get to know you a little better.
I was born in Poland, but by heart, I'm Pacific Islander. Sometimes I use it like a kind of internal joke. People are asking what would I like to eat, and they order me Hawaiian pizza. But that's just a practical joke. I think I was born in a family of scientists. Myself, I'm from technical university, so basically all my life I was entertained and surrounded by people who are like deeply thinking scientists, practical people who are practically implementing some simulation stuff in a real world environment, and constructors. So apparently at some point of time I also became an expert in medical devices. This is one of the things that I did for a couple of years. And also currently we are touching lifestyle devices, but within the realm of collecting health data.
Got it. So, your career had been deeply rooted in AI, blockchain, and mathematical modeling. So what did inspire you to focus on healthcare and medical technology? Can you give us some insights there?
Maybe not that much about the blockchain. Blockchain is basically just a tool to store. It's a very slow database.
Mm-hmm.
This is also a kind of practical joke. Blockchain is utilized mostly in our cases as a audit trail tool, something that can record immutable information about some certain activities that happened.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't mean that we are using blockchain to store health data. We don't. You can, of course, utilize IPFS and different technologies to store encrypted files, but in this case, it's a kind of supportive solution for things that we do. Why did I touch the healthcare? By accident, when I was studying physics, I was involved in the research project around the data collected by Holter apparatus. So we had 1,000 patients, anonymized data. It was 1996. I'm kind of not so much young anymore. But with that data, we created a very sophisticated algorithm which didn't work. I was a student. I was thinking that predictive modeling is not that complicated.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, we've met some scientists from East Asia, and they looked at what we do, like as a students, and they said, you have to use the probably deterministic chaos methodologies. And we're like, what? So they gave us some books and we followed that guidance. And I remember it was still something that I didn't understood. We were banging the drum with unknown technology, but it was giving us kind of predictive modeling. It was back then it was 97. Eventually, majority of my life, I was building software for healthcare pharma companies. In 2007, I created my first telemedicine platform for diabetes patients because I have few people in my family. So I was thinking how we can make this so this is like we have everything on hand, like tools, and the application was built also for Symbian phones. This was the first year of Apple phone. In
Mm-hmm.
2008, we had first Android phones, and it worked quite well. But I as an engineer, created something beautiful in terms of technology. It was technical marvel, but it was sophisticated. Maybe not so complicated, but has so many functions that it didn't get the stickiness from the perspective of user. Nevertheless, this was my calling, and I felt that I think that since then I was basically only focused on building products for healthcare, pharma industry, biotech, but mostly healthcare.
Yeah, got it. That's very helpful. So, artificial intelligence is really revolutionizing diagnostics and treatment personalization, it seems. And I'm wondering if you can walk us through how AI is currently driving faster and more accurate diagnostics in healthcare. You can provide us any help with that?
Yeah. Just consider that AI can empower, first of all, researchers. But AI does way more than just crunching the numbers. It helps us to find the right people too. By analyzing patterns and results, we can identify the most promising researchers out there. That's the one thing that we do. The other thing is that we can utilize it as a serious game changer, and I couldn't ignore it. So it's not just about processing the data; it's about speed and agility. With AI, we can dive into the rapid prototyping and research development. We test theses, the most promising ideas with the pace that was basically before unthinkable. And still, those concepts, and as we are refining them, they are scientifically well maintained. It's not only about how we calculate things, how we make some triage assessment from the data. It's also about how we process the data. It's not only about having consent for the collected data. It's about security, medical device standards. We are aligned with most of them. In current state of things that we do, we mostly compute the lifestyle data like steps, heart rate, and theoretically it's by on purpose, but it's theoretically something that should not maybe bring that much understanding. But while you are able, for example, with Cure Ring, like with a smart wearables, you can collect like dozens of thousands of data points per day. The amount of that data allows you to make something factual, like factual concepts using with the AI, make the algorithms that can also be modified, improved on even like a weekly basis. So AI gives us fast pace. It still not takes out the science part from the research. It's absolutely science. AI is a tool that supports us only.
Yeah, and one of the things you mentioned there was finding the right people. And what I was wondering about that is, are you thinking finding the right types of candidates for medical research, the right types of folks that you might want to study for the outcomes? Is that where you were heading with that?
Now, I've mentioned that by thinking about basically the scientists.
Mm-hmm.
And the main thing that we do, we are basically going through the last 3-4 year tops of the research within the areas that we are interested in currently,
Mm-hmm.
because the healthcare is very wide space. In space of decentralized science, AxonDAO is one of a few projects now that do something really interesting. The other ones are just still growing up to become a factual movements, but they eventually get to this point. But while the healthcare is very wide industry, we focus currently on analyzing psilocybin influence on human conditions, utilization of cannabis, medical cannabis. And then we will move on to more casual algorithms, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
Even 2 days ago, we started first round of call for research ideas, and we precognitively, before we did it, we started looking for scientists that are making something interesting with the data we are collecting from the wearable devices. So we already are screening the crowd of possible candidates by bringing people who made physical publications that match the areas that we are interested in. So it's not only about doing things that we look for, it's also inviting researchers that are already did something, publish that, and they are eager to try those ideas, eager to try the algorithms they created. We would love to throw those algorithms into the lake of the data we are collecting and allow them to go through the concept and say if it's really factually good idea or it's just the wrong thinking. But still, it's a process of building knowledge around the health.
Yeah, gotcha. So then maybe you can help me with this. We're hearing a lot about AI and AI-driven targeted medical treatments. Can you help us understand how those targeted medical treatments improve patient outcomes compared to traditional approaches? Can you give us any insights with that?
This is about most cases. It's about agility of AI. Like if I would ask myself how I was preparing myself for a conference event 2 years ago, I was basically doing this by hand, like going through pages, analyzing the companies that I will meet there, and try to collect some kind of thought process and list of things that I would like to achieve. 2 days ago, as we are flying today to the DeSci London conference, 2 days ago, I have to tell, it's a secret. I use Manus IM and I throw in the data about who will be there, what I'm looking for, what I would like to achieve. And I get so precise and very well thought, extract of things that I should consider, looked at, propose, and ask for. I was kind of shocked. But this is just a kind of lifestyle thing. In terms of healthcare and AI, the diagnostic is being accelerated. That's the first thing. The development process and how we are sharpening the accuracy of what we do in terms of the assessment of that triage. The ways that it's being done now, it's unimaginable just a few years ago. If I can, for example, collect, let's say, 500 patients and data for last 2 months, let's say 50 million data points, which is not much, but still I can go with some algorithms that I created before I started and have the answer after computations after 1 or 2 days. So after this, I have to adapt and think maybe I can tweak some things. I can add some additional variables, like maybe weather or air pressure, where the patient was, collecting the data? Or should I consider, let's say, nationality or gender? So AI became, it's not becoming, it's already here. It's a kind of sparring partner. And for healthcare innovators, that's what it does. That before a single line of code is written, usually I can enable AI into the team, take them and test their ideas. And the AI is not going to make a gibberish assessments. If I can throw in, for example, 50, 200 factual recent articles as a kind of starting point to make assessment about the certain same area of research that we are talking about, the challenges and the questions and thoughts that I will have from the LLM, it's not AGI yet. The outcome that I can have, and I can present it to the researchers, if I'm not still, subject matter expert within their specific space, usually they are absolutely shocked, and not because they don't know how AI works, but they were not thinking about certain things. And they, as educated scientists, they can take this and say it's illogical, or they can look at that and say, I haven't thought about it. That's a good point. Maybe we should try this. So it's a kind of digital shadow. And if you are using this, not even saying, well, if you are just using this to challenge yourself and at least learn that AI is not practical or not efficient or unwise, still it's a good thing. I'm telling you, on a daily basis, it proves itself, and we are usually shocked and positively also induced by the suggestions that we have based on the factual knowledge that we provided before.
Yeah, that's helpful. And doing my research, I also found that one of the most exciting applications of AI in medicine is the use of voice biomarkers for early disease detection. That really kind of interested me quite a bit. So, how does this technology work, and what neurological conditions can it help diagnose in these early stages? Can you provide us some guidance with that?
Oh, yeah. Voice biomarkers, you can utilize them, for example, to foresee the Parkinson disease, the Alzheimer's disease, dementia, PTSD, and quite broad amount of different mental health conditions. By only focusing on mental health conditions, just consider that each of us, each human, works with some patterns. And even when you look at how we write text messages, how we are sending someone message, and if we are using space in front of the comma, or we are using 3 dots, how often. This also explains a lot about our mental state at this point of time. And that's just like a kind of one of the many vectors you can take into consideration. Inside of the voice, recorded voice, you can first of all transcribe it to the text, and this text can be analyzed in a similar way. Sentiment, your general well-being, how you are concentrated on yourself. But the voice itself hides inside many different elements like pitch, speed, tremor, pause patterns. So speed, how fast you speak. Tremor, tiny shakes or inconsistencies in your voice, like when you lie, for example. And AI can analyze those features to spot health-related patterns. It's absolutely non-invasive. It's very easy and simple to make. We have 3 different parallel research projects, 2 additional projects that are going to utilize this basically whole methodology of voice analysis. They will do whatever they want with the outcomes, but they want to match the outcomes from voice analysis to the biomarkers they get from some DNA tests, for example. Just consider that your voice reflects how tired or stressed you are. Emotional distress from conditions like PTSD, depression, they are also visible in your voice patterns. The same thing is with Parkinson's. Often develops softer voice, reduced pitch variation, monotone quality. All those things are explaining us something that is approaching, that sooner or later will become a part of our health life. And by making such an assessment, let's say once time per week with this algorithm, you can at least see the changes that are coming, so that some factors are getting worse after months of your life. So if you see that, for example, with Alzheimer, you have slower talking, more frequent pauses, simpler voice choices, they are giving you advantage to act before. Try to think about your neuroplasticity, utilizing specific types of food. Change your diet, maybe deworm yourself. I'm not a doctor, I'm not proposing anything, but it gives you at least precognitive approach to finding out beforehand. On top of that, of course, there are other factors that can explain that you might be in a bigger group of the risk, but the voice is the most simple and most easy way to catch, to analyze, to listen and sense what's happening. It's like a stepping stone to kind of proactive healthcare, where staying ahead of illness is also as easy as speaking just a few words to a microphone.
So just kind of thinking about that for a moment in terms of the amount of data. So from a practical standpoint, we were talking before we started to record that I've done something close to 300 podcasts now. So could we go back and look at all of those recordings over that 5.5 years and then give me a mental status exam?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's like you can, for example, make a photo of your face and see the changes.
Mm-hmm.
You can make there is a theoretical science, maybe I should not use this word, of analyzing your pupil, your eye, iridology, and also we can see changes like changing patterns on your skin, just dark patterns.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
I don't think I'll share that with my wife. She might be able to prove to everybody that I'm crazy, right?
I didn't say that.
So, Mac, this is all really exciting, but I'm also wondering, what are some of the biggest challenges in validating and deploying an AI-powered biomarker in clinical practice? It seems like that's a pretty big hurdle. Can you provide us any thoughts with that?
Yeah, and just to give you like a step ahead, we start thinking about it before we even established the project itself. But the main hurdle is an access to raw data and the quality of the research protocol. Here is why. Access to raw data, AI needs a lot of high quality data to work well, but getting it's usually tough because of the strict privacy laws. Data, stuck or being thrown out in between different systems that we are using, not only in the hospital environment. I'm talking about your health data from your different wearables. Depends on what kind of operating system you have. You have one company, the other company. You have basically probably 5-7 players on the market, including Samsung and Huawei, and they are all collecting your data. So it's basically stuck in separated system. Also, something that we also manage without no issues, it's inconsistent data formats, but that's the typical thing when you have to create a silo of facts that you will take into consideration, and questioning whether my microphone in my phone or my sensors in my wearable, whether it's a watch, bracelets, anything, how precise they are. They will never be super precise. But in the same time, when you consider, I think I've heard it in your podcast probably even 4 years ago. I don't want to even challenge that. But even Samsung, when they are making their smartwatches, they were building technology as it would be a medical device. But the process of certification will go like it would be just a lifestyle thing, because upkeeping the quality system is not maybe super hard, but when you have 5, 10, 20 million products on the market within the same type of product, each one of them needs to be kind of tracked. So even if the quality of the data we are collecting is not super exact, like in theory, in the hospital environment, Still, the amount of the data allows you to find mediana, like this something, the baseline for everything, easier. So we are addressing this challenge with our CureOS platform. This is kind of a silo in your private vault for your data, and whether depends on how much did you collect it and how in terms of the specific research that is being processed and you would like to take part in this. We are assessing if you have enough to start or what kind of things that you have to collect will be good enough to make this really valuable for the researcher. And this is like an agreement in between the sides. So you cannot, challenge facts. The algorithm, the research protocol requires specific things, and they has to be within the certain qualities, and it's indestructible truth. You cannot go different way.
Yeah, that's helpful. And you touched on some data and individual data, and earlier on we talked a little bit about data security. So, what are some of the things that we should be thinking about? When we use AI and some of these big, large language models in healthcare, how do we ensure data transparency, but at the same time security?
First of all, it's an obvious thing. You should be owner of your health data.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you are collecting the data, it should be not even written in some blockchain. That's not what I'm proposing. I'm even suggesting not to do that. But we are using blockchain to upkeep something that in pharma industry we would call audit trail. So every activity, every action that happens with the data, any kind of piece of the data that you brought in or deleted or whatever, it is recorded in the audit trail. So even if someday you will decide, I want to leave this or that platform, you should be able to collect the data itself, everything that you recorded about yourself, in a format that is easy to understand also for you. So let's say it would be some kind of spreadsheet, but also you should have this log of all activities that happened around your data because you own it. So in the environment where you collect your data, you should also know who is asking to have an access to your data. Grant this access or revoke it. We cooperate with a few institutions here, and one of them is utilizing blockchain just to record the fact of your consent. So it's immutable. You cannot, delete it. This makes this enhanced security by the decentralization, but just consider that blockchain is just a slow database. And let's think about it only this way. It doesn't mean that you have to have some specific hardware wallets or some digital wallets. It doesn't matter. You don't have to even understand how we are collecting the log activities around what's happening with your data. The main thing is that we have to do it. We do it. It's being done in a standard of GDPR, because formerly it was ISO 18485. Now it's MDR. Basically, it's parallel in terms of qualities to the FDA expectancies and HIPAA Act. So this auditable trial is giving you this transparency. Yeah.
Got it. Yeah, that's helpful. And I'm thinking also at the same time with this, this area is moving very quickly. A lot of rapid developments, a lot of innovation. At the same time, many healthcare startups struggle with regulatory challenges, right, when introducing new technologies. And I'm just kind of curious how your team approaches some of the regulatory compliance in this fast-paced environment.
We did it quite well, but my question is additional question: do we really that often change the landscape of the laws here? It's very conservative area. Like basically, we are very edgy and very precise in what is expected from us. Maybe the laws are not changing that often. They maybe become more strict. That's what I would say.
Mm-hmm.
What we did, first of all, we have a platform that has built-in compliance, and it was based basically as a technical in terms of the model, how it works directly from the medical device I was involved with for several years. So I took everything I knew about how to manage the health data, how to make the proper processing, everything about the software, medical software, ISO 62. All this is engraved in the back office system that we have. So it's not only about how we collect the data internally, but also how we process the research processes. So if you would like to become a scientist that is utilizing this data, you will go through this system and you will use this system to make it happen. There is like a very strict space. It's of course fast, flexible, but and this anticipation is smart. But in the same time, we are completely, because we are responsible for that, we are governing the process of upholding and accessing the data within the research process itself. And every time when we are inviting a new research team who would like to do some research around the data that we are collecting on behalf of the users, we don't own that data. The data is owned by users. So even if potentially you would have, for example, from SmartRing, we have 2,000 rings here now. And even if I'm collecting the data with 2,000 people, it doesn't mean that all those people will say yes for the taking part in the research. In the same time, even if they will say yes, the idea is that here comes the blockchain, that we are rewarding them with blockchain tokens. Doesn't matter what's the name. We are not promoting the token. It's about the tokens that they have factual value. And at the end, you own your data. You can revoke the access to your data anytime you want, but still you are being rewarded while you are taking part in the research. And this is this is one of the things that we made as a building block of the whole decentralized movement.
Yeah, that's interesting. It sounds like really, by what you're doing, you've got the regulatory plan embedded in
Yep.
the building blocks as you move forward. Thus, when you're at the end, it's all kind of in a neat package, so to speak. Am I heading down the right path with that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And this transparency, like, even machine learning at the core of many health tech solutions, it's critical that the system can explain its decisions, whether it's a health suggestion or risk score. This transparency is built inside, and it gives the confidence among the users.
Mm-hmm.
And also this meets the regulatory expectations. We don't want to over promise. We want to challenge scientists. It must be fair with the user, and it's all about also helping research, helping science to find really faster solutions for things that we already should be, managing quite well.
Yeah, I love that. And you touched on the machine learning in your background there, and in the software development. And how that's allowed you to build really highly complex yet accessible technologies. I'm wondering, when you're looking at maybe a new area or a new device, what are the key factors you consider, when you're designing a innovative healthcare product? Can you provide us any insights with that?
Secure the right data.
Mm-hmm.
Tap into existing tools if there is something on the market you think there is. For example, the system that we have. Validate rigorously and scale your idea when really you can prove something, that really you have outputs that are quality from your perspective, and then seek funding. Also, we could touch base on what AxonDAO is and why decentralized science. Somehow we said that it's like a venture capital, but flipped on its head. So one thing is that AxonDAO is helping to fund the research, but in our world, we are trying to fund things that will become financially net positive as fast as possible. If we would be really very, rich, then probably we would also fund more research that is more basic, or there is a really low chance that it will become a source of income, but still it has meaning now. But the main challenge is to find really interesting projects and researchers that can become a products now, so we can. It's like one of my friends who is expert in finance. He looked at this what we do, and he said, "I see egg, I don't see chicken." And this is about decentralized science. When you start the project, whether it's a healthcare, metallurgy, constructions, or food production, whatever, you collect funds and you have this egg, and your duty is to make a chicken out of this egg and then produce more eggs. But in the long run, it's about allowing researchers with proper technical approach create something factual, make a quick verification whether it works or not, and move on and spin it out. Basically, we're acting like a kind of centers of technology transfer in a way. But instead of traditional firm chasing the next big tech unicorn, we are like a decentralized venture capital powerhouse that pours our resources into the scientific research.
That's helpful. And, I'm wondering now, based on AxonDAO, what advice you would have for entrepreneurs looking to develop and commercialize, AI-powered medical technologies. It sounds like they should contact you and your team early on. Is that right?
I think we are. I think we are quite early. What approach? Huh. If there is an algorithm that could be applied into the daily life, there is something that you should try to fact check. And if you need some funds, if you need some data and some help in terms of the regulatory landscape, you should find some decentralized, science organization that is aligned with your area of interests, and ask for a grant. From the perspective of decentralized science, it's our duty to analyze your thesis and try to help you. But it's like with every venture capital idea, but here I shouldn't say that. We are not greedy. The idea is that majority of the ownership, majority of this IP will stay with the researcher or research team. That's the beauty of that. I'm from academia. I'm from classical academia. It's a love-hate relation, I guess. Majority of my friends who are still there, they're trying to do some kind of growth. It's usually slow down. I understand we are not. Also, the DeSci is not fighting against the academia. Absolutely not. It's we are building parallel ecosystem. We are basically also checking this thesis that it will work. I know it works because I see it works. But sooner than later, probably we will bring in more researchers and more really interesting ideas. And if you think about, if you have some concept, at the end it is basically some kind of algorithm, whether it's a business process or logic behind mathematical model or statistical something. It's usually algorithm. So when you are an innovator or you want to have a startup, in the same time you have to build things that were already built by the others dozens of thousands of times before, like system for user registering themselves, aligned with HIPAA Act. If you want to do, I don't know, profiles, two-factor authentication, you don't have to build it again from scratch. There are organizations that already did that, and they will not ask for much of your ownership. It's like almost out of the box. So try to find a centralized science organization and try to ask them for doing something together.
Yeah, that's really good advice. So, Mac, this seems like a very exciting time for you and your team at AxonDAO. What are you excited about now? What does the future hold? Where are you and your colleagues going from here?
I think that Q-Ring, it's a wearable device. You can go to CureOS.io and find more. The idea of really not expensive wearable that is able to help you collect a lot of data, and the data that we are collecting this way has value for us. and for the researchers we already work with. And the device has advanced capabilities. It includes tracking biomarkers and providing sleep analysis, few other factors like that. But when it really sets apart is it shows it blends into your lifestyle. So it's not another clunky device. It's something very light. The battery longevity is at least 4 days. It doesn't buzz. You just wear it and you don't think about it. So it's comfortable. There's another project that we starting probably next week or in next 2 weeks, but in this month for sure. It's a cannabis, which focuses on a long-term study on medical cannabis. And I agree it feels like something that we couldn't introduce last year, maybe even, but the delay of, was also for some scientific reasons. But with medical cannabis gaining traction worldwide, the project is perfectly timed to explore therapeutic potential in a rigorous, evidence-based way. There is nothing currently on the market that is really analyzing what is the outcome of using the medical cannabis. And I can imagine that someday even my mother maybe should use some of it. Not because I'm bad son. I think from some reasons we are still kind of shy about explaining and telling what is the purpose of utilizing cannabis in terms of the health things. So those two things, curing and cannabis, they are exciting because they are not only bold and forward thinking, and they are kind of embodiment of AxonDAO mission to build a future of health through decentralized science, but we are creating a real world impact through on-chain collaboration. And currently we have 42,000 users. Probably we will have additional 500,000 this year. It looks like the growth is imminent because we are making a real utility behind research that we were building for the last year. And it's not about, talking, it's about walking now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Wow, that sounds really exciting and like a real exciting time for you and your team. So, Mack, I'd like to acknowledge and thank you for the time and preparation to be our guru today. If somebody wants to learn more about AxonDAO and what you're up to, what's the best way to contact you? Is there a website or in LinkedIn? How do we learn more?
For sure via the website and for sure via LinkedIn. I also use Twitter, X, but I think that LinkedIn would be the fastest way. I'm using the LinkedIn to connect with and contact with researchers. I have to be there on a daily basis, so feel free to reach out and ask me any questions.
Okay, and what's the website we should look for?
AxonDAO.io.
That's fantastic. So, yeah. Mack, once again, thank you so much for being our guru. I really enjoyed our time together today.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to MedTech Gurus. I am Sylvester Harris, your MC. If you want to learn more about Tom and his consulting services, you can go to www.pctmedical.com or email Tom at tom@pctmedical.com. Now I can be reached at Sylvester Harris, that's SylvesterHarris 5048@gmail.com, and I'd be pleased to discuss any voiceover work that you may want for your company or broadcast. Hey, thanks so much for listening, and catch us on the next episode of MedTech Gurus.